Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
Sometimes you have to lose yourself, or you can find anything.
Hello, and welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday, I'm Brandon.
I'm Lewis.
And we are here to talk about movies. Each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film for both of us to watch and discuss. Today, I picked Deliverance from 1972. This has been on my watch list for like 9-ish years, because 9-ish years ago, I took a river trip. Not for one weekend, but for 40 days. So a lot of people we met on the river would reference this movie. I'm glad I didn't watch it before the trip.
Yeah. Why would the people you meet it referencing this movie?
I mean, because it's like, it's the godfather of river trip movies.
That would have been creepy as hell if you'd seen this before you went on it. Like, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people were like, you know, they were like, if you hear banjos, just keep going.
Yeah. Pig squealing, don't look.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, it's been on my list for a while. And after we watched Sorcerer last week, I was like, it's a good time to watch Deliverance. I think it's going to be a good double feature. So that's what I picked, and that's what we're talking about. Stay tuned here. We're going to talk about it in our feature presentation section. But first, and also if you listen to the end of the episode, you can find out what we're watching next week. We want to say thank you to everyone who's been listening to the podcast, sending their love to the show. If you're new to the show and are enjoying, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when a new episode is available. This is a film church, so we post episodes every Sunday. And if you really, really enjoy the show, please share it with your friends. You can share it with your friends by telling them to go to filmchurchradio.com or any good podcast platform and find us. We're also on all the social medias at Film Church Radio, where you can leave us a comment or send us a message. We post extra content on our YouTube and other social media. Our Spotify has videos for certain episodes, like mostly when we have guests, we'll do a live stream video version. We also have a store now. We're selling some merch, so if you want to tithe and receive a gift for your tithe from the Holy Film Gods, just go to filmchurchradio.com, hit the store section, get you some swag and some blessings from the film gods. All right, before we discuss the movie, we're going to do our hymn section where we sing praises to other movies we've been watching this week other than Deliverance. So, what's up, Lewis? How you doing? And what have you been watching?
I'm doing good, brother. Yeah. What have I been watching? I've been watching quite a bit. I saw Cat Person from this year in the cinema. Bum, bum, bum. Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah, it's based on like a New Yorker article that kind of went viral.
Okay.
It's about dating in the modern world.
And
And
it sounded like a kid's movie at first.
It does, but it's not. So it's got Nicholas Brown in it, who you might know as Cousin Greg from Succession, which is kind of why this piqued my interest. And basically they meet each other and kind of start dating. Well, they start talking over the phone and kind of getting to know each other. And then they go on like a disastrous first date. And it just kind of follows through, you know, from their online persona, what they're like in real life, the kind of the fears that you would have in modern day life. And And it's really good. It balances between both sides of it really well. I was worried that it was going to be very one-sided because it follows Amelia Jones, who was in Coda. She's like the main character, so that was good to see her doing something else.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been working. It's just I hadn't seen it. And it's a good time. You know, it's like it's quite nice to watch it a generation on and be like, wow, I'm so glad I missed all of this.
Right, yeah,
obviously,
for sure.
you know,
Times have changed.
Yeah, 10 years ago, this was
Quickly.
not how you found people, I don't think. And here it's very, you know, very Gen Z.
Yeah.
I gave it 3 stars, and I think on reflection, I might bump it up when I watch it again. I think 3 stars might be a little harsh, but it's good. You know, it's enjoyable. It kind of takes turns that you're not expecting. And I would recommend checking it out if you're interested. It feels, you know, well made and put together.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like something I'd like to check out. You saw it in cinemas?
I did, yeah. One of my local cinemas here was showing it like late at night.
Nice.
And managed to go and peek it in the big screen, which was good. It's a film that I think would work perfectly well at home streaming, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
cool.
You know, it's one of those kind of small, intimate little things.
Looks like it also has Isabella Rossellini in it.
Yes, briefly, yeah, which is always nice to see her.
Yeah,
she's always great, and it's kind of like a stamp of approval. If you see someone that awesome in a film, you're like, it's not going to be terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to be something about it.
Yeah, so I think the cast is spot on. Again, like I said, I think that the reason it didn't resonate and like bump it up to like a 4-star maybe is because I am removed from it. So I was like, just say what you mean. you know, but that's not the thing now, is that everyone has to speak in code, and you just have to realize and guess what the other person means.
Speak in codas.
Wow, full circle. We did it. And then I got to, this is a while ago because I've been watching quite a lot, so I've been kind of going back and having a look through my like later ones that we missed. I've never seen Beetlejuice up until Halloween.
Nice.
Again, they were showing it on the big screen. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go and see it in cinemas and be like totally invested in this. I mean, breaking news, it's really fun.
Yeah.
And like the most Tim Burton-y film ever made.
Yeah, yeah.
There was so much stuff in here that I was like, that's where it's from. You know, there was things that I had seen in like pop, you know, culture and stuff that I had no idea was from this movie. I just knew it was Tim Burton-y. And now I know. And it's really good. I gave it 4 out of 5. Had a really good time, laughed a few times. I thought that Catherine O'Hara was brilliant in it. I don't think it needs a sequel. But they're making
working
one.
on it. Yeah. I watched it for the first time, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And I think it would have helped if I had seen it in cinemas. I'll just say that.
Yeah. It was nice to be kind of fully into it. And it was nice that the audience and I laughed at the line, I've seen The Exorcist so many times and it just gets funnier every time. I was like, that's a good line. Oh dear. But it's good. I mean, you can't really tell it's Michael Keaton under the makeup either. He's like totally indistinguishable. But the unfortunate thing about that is now Alec Baldwin is like my most watched actor this year on Letterboxd. Because he just keeps popping up. Like, I took my daughter to see Madagascar 2 at the cinema, and he's in that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so he's like my top watched actor this year.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. It pains me. You know?
Aren't they finishing that Rust movie?
I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
It's gross. But yeah, so I'm desperately trying to kind of bump up the other people so he's not in my top 3.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll be doing for the rest of the year. But yeah, Beetlejuice is good. Breaking news. What have you been watching, Brandon?
Last week my friend Taylor came down and he had not seen Clerks 3.
Oh man.
And I kind of introduced him to like Kevin Smith in the View Askew universe several years ago, and he's really grown to like love it, like even more than I do.
Yeah.
He even went and met Kevin Smith a few months ago. Speaking of which, did you see my Instagram?
I did see your Instagram. When I saw that you'd been watching what you've been watching, I was like, it's got to be related to the post.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at this thing. It's a picture of Kevin Smith signed that he got for me.
That's amazing.
But it's on it. It says, "Brandon, I love you," and it's spelled right. Written by Kevin Smith. Like, he wrote that
amazing.
on there.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that just like the coolest thing ever?
It is. Yeah.
I was so surprised. I was like, bro, like, I can't believe you did this. Like, this is amazing. Like,
did you have any idea about it, or was it just like a full surprise?
It was a full surprise, yeah. Because when he went, like, it's been a couple of months, like, because he got a picture with him.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like so cool that I even like he sent me a picture. He's like, "Look who I met," and it's like a picture of him and his girlfriend with Kevin Smith. And I was like, "That is so cool." I sent it to you and Zach. I was like, "Look who Taylor met and stuff." So he got it then, but he didn't tell me about it until he came down last week. So yeah, it was a full surprise.
That's awesome.
And then he was like, "I haven't seen Clerks 3," so I was like, all right, let's watch it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it since it first came out. It's been a year. You know, I saw it in cinemas.
Yeah.
I had given it a 5 out of 5 when I saw it. So obviously I liked it, you know, but even just a year later, it's like you can kind of forget, especially if you only watch something once.
Yeah.
And man, it is so good. Like, I really, really like it. I really think it's a really good movie. I know it's kind of got mixed reviews from fans, but to me, it's like now seeing the Clerks as like a trilogy, it's super good. I think it's his best work.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
You know, like all 3 together, like he really connected them. I don't know. And they all feel a lot more grounded than his other movies.
Yeah.
Except maybe like Chasing Amy is pretty grounded. But you know, his other films, like, they kind of dip into the like fantasy, fantastical kind of realm, whereas like the Clerks movies are about like just regular people. You know, who aren't necessarily spectacular. They just love movies and, you know, and work shitty jobs, which I relate to a lot. And, you know, the first movie being the most grounded, and then the second one, you know, it's still about working at a shitty job, but it's, you know, fast food.
Yeah.
And then in the third one, they go back. But the third one is like, I don't know, man. It just feels like you know, these characters actually lived a life. You know, Randall and Dante. And working in service jobs, I've met a lot of older, but, you know, quote unquote older. I mean, they're in their 50s, I guess, in the movie. And you know, there's tons of like nerdy older people out there in their 50s and even older, you know, that are still into comic books, that are still into like all the movies they were into pop culture and at least their pop culture of their era and stuff. And I don't know, man. It's like, it's also about loss. It's about I don't know, friendship. Like, I just feel like he like stuck the landing really, really well.
Yeah.
Like, I think the movie's gonna age really well, and mean even more to me as I get older. Because it's like when I watch those movies, I feel like I'm watching like another version of my life, you know, where you're just, you know, your life is kind of where you work, because that's where you spend the majority of your day every day. And whether you like it or not, you've got to spend the time with the people you work with. And, you know, obviously in the case of Dante and Randall, they're like best friends. But there's also these side characters that they're, you know, in the first one, they're kind of, you know, they're more acquaintances or whatever. But as the movies go on, it's like, no, these are your like lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's just something about it. And then it's Brian O'Halloran, right, that plays Dante. Like, he just gives an incredible performance in the movie. That just like kind of blew me away. Like, I don't know. It's like I've never seen like Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt like busting out chops like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, I'm not that Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt are bad actors, because they're not. But like,
it's just
holy shit! Like, he just like totally killed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking killed it. And I mean, obviously it's, you know, it already was his, you know, career defining role.
Yeah.
You know, it's mostly the movie that the series of movies that most people know him from. You know, I don't think, I mean, I haven't seen all the other work he's done. It made me wonder too. I bet he teaches acting classes just based on like how good his performance was. I don't know if he does or not, but I mean, he was already an actor before Clerks. Like, that's what he was studying. So it makes sense that he's that good, especially like this many years later. But it's just, you still don't quite expect it, because when you watch those movies, you feel like you're just watching regular people in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But no, he's a freaking good actor. Like, you know, like, whereas the guy who plays Randall, sorry that I'm blanking on his name, but he was just a regular guy.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Smith was gonna play him at one point, but then they were auditioning people, and they were auditioning actual actors, but then I can't remember the story of how he ended up in the role, but he wasn't like planning on becoming an actor, but he was like perfect for that role, so it worked out. But yeah, man, it's 5 out of 5 for me.
That's awesome.
I stand by it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
I really want a VHS box set of all the 3 Clerks movies. That would be dope.
I mean, I feel like if he sold it in his store with, like, you know, if he signed them and stuff, because everything he does signed.
I know,
you know, just a limited edition, people would get it.
Yeah,
because it's a video store next door.
Exactly. Yeah,
it would just work. Yeah,
and
DM him.
Yeah, you could even sell it. You know, the VHS box set, and sell it with like a digital code.
Yeah,
because like most people aren't gonna play them.
Yeah.
But it would be dope to have, especially if they were playable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know a couple of people actually that have made their own VHS tapes and done their own covers and stuff. So I might try to get them to talk to Kevin Smith, and I just want it. I don't even want a piece of it. I just just give me a copy.
Yeah.
They do have a box set on Amazon right now, but it's like $150. But it's like a huge, it's like a huge, like it's like the whole. It's like almost like an action figure set. I mean, there's no action figures in it, but the box looks like the store.
That's pretty cool.
And but yeah, I don't want to drop that kind of.
Oh yeah,
cash
I just
right
pulled
now.
it up. Yeah. Wow, that is cool though. I mean,
I would pay $60 for a box set.
Yeah.
Today, Kevin Smith.
It's one of those that it's like, The box set is really cool. But do you need it like that?
Yeah, exactly.
If there isn't an option, if there isn't an option for like, just a regular box set,
medium level.
Yeah.
Because they did that with The Godfather, and yes, I am comparing the two. They did for the 50th anniversary or whatever. They did like $100-something set, but then they also did just the slimmer, just the movies set for like $60.
Yeah, and that's doable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could keep talking about this movie because, like, also Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith in the movie are really, really good. Like it's interesting watching Jason Mewes evolve.
Yeah,
because I feel like he's pretty much the same in the first and the second one, and in the third one, he is a different person, but like he still manages to like make it hilarious. Like when he's like trying to practice his lines and he's doing his lines from the other movies but terribly on purpose, it's like really, really funny. He's like, Silent Bob, you're a rude motherfucker. And then when Kevin Smith finally steps in and is like, no, this is how you act, it's like, holy shit, like Kevin Smith can act. Like he's been around enough like really good actors that like he's like I don't know, man. It's just, I think just in retrospective of like Kevin Smith's career, like, I don't know, I don't know. Kevin Smith kind of has been doing this thing. I think he's been trying to prove to the world that he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And that he knows what he's doing. And I feel like with this movie, he is still trying to prove it, but almost like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't know. To me, it was just like, yeah, man, you are a filmmaker. You're good, and you can also act, and you know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he gets you.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just good. I just want to like rewatch all three of these movies like once a month, just to like. I don't know. Dude. They're inspiring. You know what I mean? Like it's just. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like the second one, I rewatched it last year before I watched the third one, and that was the one that probably is the least that I've watched the least. But I'm like rewatching it last year, I was like, man, I still relate to this one just as much, because it's like, especially like with the Elias character coming in, because there's always like people that are into other from maybe a different generation, a little bit like younger than you, that are into nerdy stuff, but not the same nerdy stuff you're into, but they're the only person you work with, so you kind of have to find a way to relate to them. His character is so funny and great. Like, I don't know. And he's like only in the Clerks 2 and Clerks 3, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, good stuff, dude. Like, I just love it. It's good.
Yeah.
So we watched that, and then I was like, have you ever seen Jay and Silent Bob's Super Groovy cartoon movie, which was made by Kevin Smith? Yeah. It's like an hour-long cartoon. I remember liking it when it came out. It's like 2010 or something.
Yeah.
It's got some funny parts, but it didn't age well.
Oh, okay.
It's a very 2010 comedy.
Yeah.
In a not good way. I mean, I gave it 3 out of 5. It's it's okay. It's got it does have some jokes in it that are really, really funny, but it's just like that, I don't know. It's that very kind of adolescent, like, sexual comedy fart joke side of Kevin Smith, which does work sometimes, but I feel like, I don't know, especially after watching Clerks 3, it was like, man, the contrast between how serious he took Clerks 3 compared to like Jay and Silent Bob Super Groovy cartoon movie. But that's what you expect. I mean, that's the name of the movie. So, you know. Anyways.
Anyway.
That is all I got.
Cool. Jay and Silent Bob, baby.
So now we're going to talk about our feature presentation. Deliverance, 1972. What did happen on the Cohulawasi River? Intent on seeing the Cohulawasi River before it's turned into a huge lake, outdoor fanatic Lewis Medlock takes his friends on a river rafting trip they'll never forget into the dangerous American back country.
I do.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh no, keep going. I did want to say that at the beginning of this podcast, you were very buoyant for introducing this show. You're like, we're watching Deliverance in 1972. I was like, okay. I did not have that that buoyant of a time watching this movie.
Yeah, it's a tense movie, dude.
Oh my god. Oh god,
it's
it is
so tense the whole time, and it's I feel like a mastery in tension, which we talked, which is kind of why it pairs well with Sorcerer, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that it's it's a very tense film, and I think there's just something about being surrounded by trees. You never know where people are. It doesn't matter. It felt like inevitable. It didn't matter where the canoe kind of came up to. There would be someone there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you added it to watch this 9 years ago.
Yes.
After going on your river trip. I'm really hoping that it was nothing like this.
In terms of the amount of raping, it was nothing like this.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, and I knew that was like a big part of the movie just because of, I mean, that's what everybody kind of sort of talked about. I don't know. It's like, I mean, nobody would directly talk about it, but just based on, what people were saying, it sounded like that's what they were warning us about, going on the trip. So yeah, I knew that was coming, and I knew it was going to be super uncomfortable, and I don't know, but and it is super uncomfortable and very disturbing, and obviously kind of like the centerpiece of the movie. Because the rest of the movie, once that happens, like the rest of the movie is kind of the aftermath. It's all the aftermath,
Which I'm
it's
really
leading up to it, and then the aftermath, which I thought it was going to be more of just one smaller piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the further they went down the road, the more intense it would get, and
I kind of expected more of like, exactly, something like that, or like there'd be several different things, like several different stops of like just crazy things that happened or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not like that at all.
No.
It's more of just like the centerpiece of the movie, which is interesting. I was reading Silent Dawn on Letterboxd has a short little essay about it.
Yeah.
About the movie, and talked a lot about basically masculinity, like these guys go out there to kind of prove their masculinity in a way, but they already didn't really have it to begin with, and then it's also stripped down even more and taken away from them, which is interesting. it's a weird thing to be like, I really enjoyed this movie, where the centerpiece is a big kind of rape scene, which is obviously horrible.
I think you've got to put it on the same kind of like level as horror and stuff like that, because quite recently I rewatched Saw, and that made me think. I think it was the same night that I watched Deliverance, which probably says a lot about my film watching habits. But I thought to myself then, this is kind of on the same level. I'm not enjoying it because I'm enjoying seeing what's happening to the characters, but it's a good film.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a mastery in tension. Like the tension, like right off the bat, the tension in the beginning when the guy's playing the guitar, Ronnie Cox is playing the guitar with the guy who's playing the banjo. That's the whole movie right there.
Yeah.
The way that they're building the tension in that scene. The guy, not to like shame anyone for their looks, but the guy playing the banjo looks very, very creepy.
Yeah.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of the girl from Hereditary, the like sister or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very bizarre and like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's like something's not right here.
Yeah. There's a news report out there, I think it's on YouTube, of them interviewing someone that kind of lives in the area, and they're like still really mad about this movie. Because they're like, it just, all of us are just depicted as slack George yokels, and we're not. With a thick accent, I think.
But I mean, is that okay? Yeah, like okay, like I get that.
Yeah.
This movie is could be a little offensive. Like, not everybody out there on the river is like that. Of course.
I don't side with it. I mean, I don't live there, obviously, but I'm not in that camp where I'm like, oh, so offensive.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just like, this would be a nightmare, and I would not get in that canoe.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm going home away from these people.
I think someone that, if someone watches this movie and thinks that everybody that lives on a river is like that, like that's more of like a lack of intelligence in the viewer than like obviously the people who actually live on the river. But also, if it did keep some people from taking river trips on your river and coming around your house, like that's probably good.
Yeah.
Exactly. You live out there because you want to be left alone. So like I don't know. We sure did meet a lot of interesting characters on our river trip. But yeah, I mean, like there's good people out there. We didn't meet anyone like was in this movie on our river trip. So,
I would hope not. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean that opening scene, mastery intention, that like, and then obviously like the sexual assault scene is, it's also a mastery intention.
It's one of those where it starts off and it kind of gives you the feeling of what's going to happen, and then it diverts away from it slightly, and you're like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. And then when it starts to happen, you're not. I don't know. It's one of those where you're not quite sure if it's going to do it until it happens, And then when it happens, it's even more disturbing because you've been toyed with like they have.
Yeah.
The whole way through, you'd like, I don't know where this is going when he's asking to strip. I'm like, that is demasculating as it is, having to strip for people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then to, it's awful.
Yeah, and then it goes even further to like making him squeal and stuff.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
It's just gut-wrenchingly disturbing.
So apparently the squealing like a pig stuff was added in post because to begin with, there was a lot of swearing and a lot of like bad language and stuff that the censors or the studio or whoever didn't want in there because it was like very, extreme. So they dubbed over with the squeal like a pig.
They must have just taken it from like, I mean, he does like pull his nose up
Yeah.
or whatever. So it was obviously kind of a part of the scene before
Yeah.
they dubbed over it, but they must
The
have
fact
just,
it
like,
was kind of repeated again and again in the
yeah.
oinks and stuff. And then John Borman decided that he liked it more, so he kept it. And it was Ned Beatty would only do it once. He was like, I'm not going to keep doing this. So we've got to get it first time. So it's all kind of the first shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, that whole scene is just so tense, and then you see Burt Reynolds in the background
Yeah.
with the bow, and you're like, finally.
Yeah. Lewis,
he's here.
There are many characters in the film world called Lewis. So it was nice, especially spelt the same way as well. So big thumbs up. And he's played by Burt Reynolds as well, so even bigger thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's pretty sweet, right?
It is sweet. I like his character a lot. I like the bow and arrow. And like when he's fishing and stuff and he's whooping and everyone's like, oh, God, this guy. You know, I think we've all had a friend like him who's very passionate about something to the point of like ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And you just do things to humor them.
Yeah.
You know? I think that if this had been made like now, he would have been really into paintball or something and taken it really seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, Burt Reynolds is really good. I don't want to say surprised because I know he's been in a lot of stuff and kind of very, very famous. But you just tend to think that it's a name, don't you? I mean, I do anyway.
Yeah.
But he's really good in it.
Yeah.
So is everybody, though.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, everybody's really good. But yeah, Burt Reynolds is he's obviously such a big presence in whatever film he's in, but I feel like he was this character of Lewis is the best fitting for him because he is a little extreme, and he he's like out of all of them, if we're talking about masculinity, I don't know that he's actually masculine necessarily, but it doesn't matter because the other character, in comparison to the other characters, they see him as the most masculine.
Yeah.
They see him as like somebody they're trying to like prove that they can be.
Yeah.
And look up to or whatever. And there is a question in the film if he even really is as good as he says he is or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The only time he really proves anything is like when he shoots the guy.
Yeah. I felt such a relief though when it's that shot of him kind of taking aim through the trees. We see it from Ed's point of view. And there's that like, oh, thank God. He's actually going to do something about it. He's not going to try and reason with them and, get caught. He's just going to...
Well, the guy had a gun. It's like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
And all you've got is a bow and arrow. You got to take your shot or else you're going to lose it.
Yeah, exactly. And when he runs off into the forest, when they hear the noise at night.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets he's just like, I'm going to go look.
Yeah, but see, that scene is like when they're all questioning.
Yeah.
Like what he's even doing. And,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like, I think that is the natural thing to do, especially if you're unaware of what's actually going on. And even like when he comes back, he's like, they're like, what was it? What did you hear? And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, do you really know what you're doing? Or are you just like trying to play the role of like,
where did you go? What did you look
the badass masculine character? Like, because, soon after that, after he shoots the guy with the bow and arrow, he, like, you just see all of them kind of break, their psyches kind of break down, and, they're trying to figure out what to do, and then the whole burial scene, they're kind of all on the same level.
Yeah.
Like nobody's kind of like more masculine than the other at that point. They're all just kind of like freaking out and trying to cover this thing up.
Yeah. Which I found the reality really intriguing. I like, because in other films it would have been easy for them to be like, let's just go, you know, and then it kind of not be really spoken about. But with here, there's like a degree of reality of like, if someone finds this out, we are going to be convicted of murder.
Yeah.
You know, we need to kind of hide this to kind of protect ourselves, kind of thing. And that's, like you said, that's the second half of the film, is them dealing with the aftermath. And even the last 20 minutes or so, when they actually get to the land, is them like dealing with the police and being questioned and, you know, not being able to leave until
Which I kind of didn't expect the movie to go there.
No,
I kind of expected the movie to not even show you anything outside of the river.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just to keep us confined in there. But there's definitely that feeling of, you know, naivety where you're like, oh, just tell them, you know, what happened. And they'll be like, you boys had a rough time, you know, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, it's more like, well, where's the proof?
Yeah, where's the proof? And like, and then the character of Bobby, like, he doesn't.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Want anyone to know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's just tension, like scenes of tension after scenes of tension. Like you don't know exactly where it's going, and then, yeah, it's just done. It's just done really well. And then you know, after they leave, the whole scene of them, trying to find the other guy and like climbing up the side of the mountain and stuff is like, it's also very, very tense. Like you really don't know who's going to survive.
Well,
or any of them will.
Yeah. It's, again, it made me think of Sorcerer when they had the two canoes. I was like, well, I guess only two are coming back, you know, and I don't know which ones it will be. Potentially even one. But yeah, the whole film was shot as cheaply as possible, and so none of it was insured, and there was like no stunt doubles. So when you see Ed climbing up the mountain, John Voight did it.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Which when you watch it again, when he like stumbles at that one bit, it's even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Because they all just could have, you know, died at any point during the filming of this film, especially going down the rapids as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Nothing was too, as far as the rapids go, it didn't look like anything was too crazy. Obviously, like, it's going to be dangerous no matter what you're doing. But, I don't know. There was a couple of parts where they're like, oh, this is coming up, you know, and then I expected to see like a huge, maybe waterfall or something. But like, you know, there was nothing too crazy. But it's always kind of dangerous.
I did feel like those moments could have been shortened. I feel like there was a lot of padding in especially the moments going down the river. You know, they were like, oh, we're coming up to some rapids, and it would be like 10 minutes of screen time of them kind of going, whoa, you know, getting wet and stuff. And I was like, okay. Yeah, what's next? You know, I think that was probably one of my only like gripes with it, is you could tell they got all this footage and they were like, okay, this looks good, let's just keep it all.
Yeah, but I think it is helping to build up like that theme of like masculinity.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm also taking some of this from the article I read, but like especially the scenes before the rape scene. Yeah. When they first like hit the rapids and stuff, because again, it's not like their lives are in danger.
Yeah.
You know, with the rapids.
Yeah.
You know, there's some rapids, and it's fun to go down them. But, like, the fact that the characters are sensationalizing it a little bit is, like, kind of, in their minds, they're like, look how badass I am.
Yeah.
Going down these rapids or whatever. And even the character of Bobby is like, that was the greatest sensation. Oh, wait, second greatest sensation of my life, you know?
Yeah.
So I think at least those scenes are like helping to reiterate this theme that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then after when they're trying to escape, it's like the Drew character can't take it. He can't take what they've done, and he, I guess, commits suicide. I don't know. Like they say, like afterwards, like Lewis is like, he was shot,
No.
and then the guy really is on top of the mountain. So it's like, okay, well,
was he? I don't think so. I think that you could pretty much tell when they like, what he was going to do beforehand. It wasn't like that came out of the left field,
Right,
he just
exactly.
kind of killed it. There was no cue on the soundtrack. Normally you'd hear like a or something, just some cue for us, but there wasn't. I just don't think he can live with the
what
kill.
they did.
Yeah. And he knows that, he wouldn't be backed up. The others are kind of steadfast in what they believe. And it's even more gut-wrenching when they're like, he had a loving wife and loving boys. And it's like, oh my God. It really kind of hits home that he's dead. That there's he's leaving a family behind and everything.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But then the guy is actually on the mountain. So I'm like, I don't know.
I think he's just stalking them, isn't he? At that point.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But, like, the climbing scene is really good.
Yeah.
Jon Voight, I don't think I've ever seen him this young.
Me neither. Yeah, it took me a while to kind of get used to him not being
an old man.
Yeah, the guy from Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Some interesting shots when when he's climbing the cliff.
Yeah.
The angles are really interesting. And then I guess they did some burning on the film to make it look a little more nighttime, is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. Interesting look. I don't know how well it worked, but I mean,
I guess
it worked
again,
fine.
Yeah, trying to keep it as cheap as possible. I mean, lighting a night scene on top of a mountain, I'm sure, is insanely expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
To get everything, so it's it makes sense.
But man, that final little moment there where he's on the cliff and wakes up and sees the guy looking down.
Yeah.
Super tense. Like, because you don't know. Like, you really feel like it could go either way.
Yeah. Exactly. He's got the yips. He can't fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, what does that say about masculinity? Is he on this trip with Lewis to, I don't know, regain some of that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't know. I have to watch it again because I don't know how he shot himself. I think, did he just fall on his arrow?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, it's like what masculinity being questioned in the 70s. It's like, do you have to be like an out and out killer to be a man?
Yeah.
He manages to survive and ends up probably the happiest of the lot. He doesn't get assaulted or breaks any bones or anything like that. He just gets like an arrow through the side's pretty painful, but he ends up coming the best out of everyone, and he's not as gung ho as Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there's people out there that think you have to kill a man to be a man.
Mm.
Fight to the death, you know. I mean, that's been I'm sure that's been our I don't know. That's been like the theme of masculinity, I'm sure, for the last
look at superhero
thousands
films.
of years. I mean, yeah.
That's kind of how it all comes down to. Recently, I watched Straw Dogs, and it made me think a lot of this. How it's kind of regular people are just pushed to the extreme. And it's like, how far would you go to, to win, I guess? Would you kill somebody? And that was made in 1971, so the year before. So, it's weird how these kind of periods come along and how maybe something at the time in the 70s, early 70s was happening to make people question, these gender dynamics and what it meant to be a man, Yeah. I assume there's a lot of... I mean, the 70s, right, there's a lot of kids that were born in the 40s that were coming up and like had probably fathers and grandfathers that fought in the war and grew up with that, drilled into them that dying for your country was the bravest thing you could do.
Yeah.
And then they explore that idea and think, well, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
What were they achieving,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's an interesting period. There's definitely
for sure
more to watch.
The last bit of like tension that I want to talk about is, I mean, there's more after this.
Yeah.
But when he's climbing down the cliff, and you see the first clip of the rope scraping on the corner, on the edge of the cliff, I was like, in my mind, I was like, come on, please. I was like, you're like I've been so tense through this whole movie. That part of it was like,
just give me a minute to breathe.
Yeah, like, come on, like,
yeah.
But it was genius. It was like, and then when it cuts and you like think that he's gonna just like smash his body on the rocks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like bracing for it, like, oh man, here we go.
Yeah.
And then he just falls in the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just brilliant. It's like brilliant filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At least in terms of building tension.
Yeah. And I love Bobby's last line to Ed, where he's like, I don't think we'll be seeing each other for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're never going to see each other again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
what didn't they do?
They do, yeah. But it's I just get the feeling that, Bobby is like, he's never going to want to talk about this, never going to want to like even think about what happened here.
Yeah.
And it'll just be lost forever,
Yeah.
Interesting conversation around like nature and like it being destroyed and stuff like that. Hiding the dead of the richer people, I guess, or the more educated. I don't know. I don't know how you would differentiate between the people that live out near the lake and the city folk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. There are a lot more themes there that I would have to watch it a few more times to kind of get more out of it. But yeah, like covering up a whole area just with water was interesting. There is a part of the river that we went down. The river we went down was the Sabine River, and there's a lake on that river called Toledo Bend, and it's like 12 miles. I think it's 12 miles wide. And I can't remember how many miles long. It's like maybe 100 miles long or something. It's a very big lake, but it was also man-made.
Wow.
And they were in the process of constructing it. So they were like tearing down trees and stuff, and clearing out the areas when there was like a huge flood that just like it filled it up, like when in a matter of days.
Wow.
And so they had never finished constructing it, and it just it turned into a lake before they were ready.
Yeah.
So a lot of that lake is there's like trees coming up out of it.
Yeah.
And like you have to, like, if you want to go down that lake, you have to be taken by a guide.
Wow.
That can take you on the original like river channel.
Oh, jeez.
Otherwise, you might tear up your boat because you're gonna hit stumps and like trees and like things that weren't cleaned out. So there's like apparently under that lake, there's like a bunch of like construction vehicles and like all kinds of things under it.
Wow.
Which is super creepy to think about.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it reminded me of that when they're like trying to clear out the areas. They're like digging up graves.
I know.
Trying to move the bodies, which just seems like so weird. It's like,
yeah, I know.
And on one degree, I get it, but also like, I mean, aren't they buried in the ground for a reason? Like, just let them stay where they are. I don't get it. I don't get that necessarily. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Burial is weird to me. I don't quite totally understand. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole nother subject. Like returning your body to the earth, like I don't get the whole. I don't know. I get funerals. I get why you do that, but like why? I don't know. To like stuff a body full of fragrances and put it in a nice sealed coffin in the ground that like bugs might not even be able to get into. It's like I would rather just like don't give me a coffin. Just put me in the dirt. Yeah. Return me to the earth. Let my body be recycled.
Yeah. Coffins just remind me of Bernie.
Yeah, I know.
Like every time I see him now, I'm just like, it just highlights the ridiculousness of spending thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's very bizarre.
It is bizarre.
To me. And like, and when they first get out of the river too, the shot starts pulling back, and then you see this little Church of Christ there, which is exactly what I grew up going to. It was Church of Christ, and it was like little churches like that.
Do you think that sometimes movies like that, they're nodding at you directly in your life?
Yes. Yeah. I exactly. I felt like this movie was waiting for me.
Yeah. Like you're kind of looking at your shoulder.
Especially that last shot. I was like, what the F? Like, really? Like that someone put that right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I texted my cousin right at that moment because I've already talked to him about this. I mean, he went on the trip with me, and so he heard about this movie as much as I did. So we've talked about watching it together. And last year we did watch Apocalypse Now together.
Yeah,
I had already seen Apocalypse Now a few times, but it was shown at the Texas Theater. I was like, you should come watch this with me.
Yeah.
Because it's also about going down a river, and a long journey. Anyway, so that the part of, we've already been saying, we both need to see this movie. But then when I saw the Church of Christ, I was like, dude, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, gotta watch this movie.
It was really weird. So I think, I don't know. I think I still got a few things to learn from this movie.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird. Definitely. There was, the one other thing that I wanted to just kind of mention was that it, I don't want to say that it originated here because there's going to be people that are like, actually, there's a film in 1969. But the kind of the final scare trope that of him having the dream of the hand coming out of the water.
Oh, right.
Like inspired Carrie, and then inspired like the horror films of today. How there's always that kind of final, jump scare of they're not dead. Kind of all originated here, which is interesting. Because when you watch it now, you're like, right, we've seen this, But,
so you're right, but it's like the first time they're doing it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is when the hand comes out of the water, there's a ripple effect.
Wow. I am saying that. Yeah. You can go back and edit that in, but just change it to my voice. Because that was a better way to say it than what I did.
Yeah, I was almost like, I mean, that would have been a great way to end the movie, is the hand coming out of the water. But then they cut. But then they cut to him waking up, and it's all a dream. And it's like, that was exactly how I felt. I was like, you guys had to do that. But it's interesting that I feel that way because I've seen it so many times where they're like, psych.
Yeah,
you
gotcha.
know? But that's the first time they do it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because then at the end, they do cut back again.
Yeah.
To just the water and no hand coming out of it. 1 or 2 bubbles.
Yeah.
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 And you're like,
I know. It's just expertly done. It's just a nice way to. It's not too much. It's not, over egging the pudding kind of thing. It's a good way to end the film.
Yeah. Deliverance 2, delivered. And on the cover, it's John Voight, and he's got like a pizza box in his hand.
Man, also, the poster rules.
The poster is cool.
Love this poster. If there was I want to do like a big coffee table book of like the best film posters, this would definitely make it.
Yeah.
It's really striking and really visually impressive. So
yeah,
it's great.
But it's interesting because Burt Reynolds looks more like Burt Reynolds on the poster than he does in the movie.
Yeah.
Because like on the poster, it looks like, doesn't he have a mustache on the poster?
I think so.
He's got a mustache on the poster.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a shirt.
He's doing
but in the movie, he's like clean shaven, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and I thought it was only going to be 3 people because there's only 3 people on the poster.
Yeah. Should have told you something. Poor old Drew.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone is wondering, I did film my entire 40-day river trip with the 2 fellows I went on the trip with. Was planning on releasing a documentary, but it's remains unfinished. So, I think. I mean, I keep thinking someday I'm gonna.
It's one of those stories you just dropped on me. I can remember we were kind of sitting at yours, and you were just like, "Oh yeah, I went on like a 40-day trip up a river," and I was like, "What?" And you're like, "Yeah, I filmed it all. I've just got all the footage. I'm just trying to edit." I was like, "Why have we not talked about this before?"
It is a very weird thing because it's like, because at one point, that was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm gonna make this thing, and then it didn't end super well. Like it didn't end on good terms with everybody. So it was like, and 2, I was just like ready for the trip to be over. I think we all kind of were.
It's a long time though.
It is a long time, dude.
Yeah.
But I think, well, also just the amount of footage I have. I've finally. Well, I also didn't have like equipment exactly because I had equipment to film it, but then when we got done, like I had no way of like sorting through the footage. Like my computer at that point was already like a 5-year-old iMac.
Yeah.
Or actually, more than that. I was like 7 years old at that point. Anyway, so like. Just a year ago, I finally was able to sort through the footage and calculate how much I had, and it's like, I think it was like 54 hours of footage that I have, and like the Beatles documentary that took Peter Jackson, I don't know how many years to finish, with a huge team and a huge budget, was 60 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to deal with, but I don't know. Every year I kind of have a new idea of an angle to like come at it from.
Yeah.
But it's just the time.
Yeah,
I think.
Dude. Yeah.
It's just the time, and I currently don't make any money from my filmmaking, so I've got to find other ways to make money, and then it's hard to spend the time that I need to edit when I've got to figure out how I'm going to eat every day.
Yeah.
So, go to filmchurchradio.com, go to our shop, buy some merch, help fund.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, help me fund this river documentary. It'll come. It'll come.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I don't want to wait another 9 years without doing anything with it.
No.
That's for sure.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it whenever it is ready.
Yeah, same.
Do you want to guess what we've rated it on Letterboxd?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think you rated it a 4.
Okay. I think you rated it. I think you rated it a 4.
I did rate it a 4.
Nice.
Yes, it's one of those classic examples of I really enjoyed it. There was things of it that I would change, and I don't know how quickly I'm going to rush back to watch it.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that it's great, and it's well made and everything, but I'm also like, I'm okay not watching that for a while.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I think I rated it 4.5.
Nice. Okay, cool.
I'd say I think I did. I do rate it 4.5. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I am gonna go back to it a lot sooner than you. And
but like we always say, cinema's subjective. You take from a movie what you bring to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've been on a river trip, there's more to it for you to enjoy.
Exactly.
Sure.
Plus that Church of Christ at the end was like, bruh. And I mean it kind of looks like our logo too, our Film Church Radio logo a little bit, the way that church looked.
Yikes.
Bing.
Subconscious.
Yeah. It's got the bell on it and everything.
Yeah.
Church bells. Cool. Well, I think that's it for the show, but what are we watching next week?
I am thinking that because we've spent this week talking about a group of men fighting evil, next week we should talk about a group of women fighting evil. And I think we're long overdue for a chat about the MCU and what's happening with it, where it should go, where we think it all started to come off the rails. So I'm proposing that next week we watch The Marvels from 2023 because...
Sweet.
Yeah, we got a lot to say and we keep just kind of doing it tangentially. And I think that we need a full episode to be like, this is
Marvel
what
stuff.
we think. Yes. Because it's, it's the biggest thing in cinema at the moment. I don't want to keep overlooking it. So we're going to do that. Sure. And we'll talk about it next week.
Sweetness. All right, y'all. That'll be next week. But in the meantime, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram and other social medias at Film Church Radio. And you can follow us individually on Letterboxd. I'm at Selmascope. And Lewis is at WalkerLewis3007. There you can keep up with what we've been watching. We also have all of our back episodes streaming on all good podcast platforms, so please leave us a rating and review so we know if you liked film. And if you didn't, what would you pick for us to watch in the future? Thank you for being here. We hope to see you next Sunday for more Film Church Radio. The only thing left to say is...
Why do you go on these trips with me, Ed?
I like my life, Lewis.
Yeah, but why do you go on these trips with me?
Sometimes I wonder about that. Here's to you, Lewis.
We have to flip it because my name is Lewis.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.